Welcome, everyone. This is Quantum Conversations for Your Higher Self Connection. My name is Loren Gailey, and I'm so happy to have you here today and witnessing a beautiful episode that we have with my guests. Again, we are here with twin rays, Sananda and Shekinah Christ. This is a beautiful couple on a mission to assist all of us in self-realization. Let's welcome Sananda and Shekinah Christ back to Quantum Conversations. Hello, Sananda and Shekinah.
Blessings, beloved Loren.
Hello and luminous greetings, all beloveds. Wonderful to be with you today.
Yes, lovely to be with your community and this beautiful pot of lights that we are all gathering in.
Yes, we are going to have an update with both of you. I want to just say that we are adapting. We are in a time in 2020 where pivoting seems to be the name of the game. And in today's episode, we were due to be on video, but lo and behold, we are beautiful on audio today. So I thank everyone for joining us. And again, isn't this another fine example of staying calm in the eye of the storm and moving with ease and grace as we pivot and adapt?
Absolutely, beloved Lauren, and thank you for bringing that through in such a beautiful manner. You know, in this particular episode, we're going to be talking about prosperous magic and conscious wealth creation. And just as the current of life moves and ebbs and flows, and one must soften themselves to be able to move with the current, so is the prosperous magic and the conscious wealth all about the currency of life and that ability to flow and open and receive. And so this is an absolutely perfect opening for this.
Yes, I love that. The currency of life and really truly being in the flow. All right. Well, we have something beautiful to talk about today. We're talking about prosperous magic and conscious wealth creation. But yet, before we get there, we're going to take a little update with you and have you share on what you've been up to in this year of 2020. We were just chatting, and you are staying flexible and in the flow yourselves.
Yes. Well, a lot of the work that we do in the sort of unseen realms, we love to go to certain places on the earth that have those high energetic currents. And at certain times of the year, these ley lines start lighting up. And what we share with some of our students is when you're working with the grids of the earth, the grids of the planets, you come to realize that there's multiple different lines, there's multiple different nodes. And it's like this whole nervous system or nodal system, or if you look at it from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, there's all these meridians that are circling the earth. And that's like the earth's body of energy, just as we have a gross body or a physical body, and we also have a more subtle body and higher causal bodies, so does the earth. And so what we do a lot of traveling to different locations where we help heal and clear the lands and help repair these grid systems. And
in order to bring the prophecies.
Yeah, and we do that because we love it, basically, and we've been gifted the ability to do so through understanding the different science of geobiology, really. And so what we've been doing since our last retreat, and which was a similar time, I think about 4 or 5 months ago when we spoke with you last as well, Lauren, and we did an amazing retreat in Shasta, and it was the biggest retreat we had to date, and we had many of our beloved community to come and join, and we did lots of work with the earth. And then since then, Shekinah and I have just really been going to different parts on the West Coast and working. And there's so much karma. There's so much karma in the soils of the earth itself. And a lot of that karma, it's time to come up. And at a world stage, what happens when that karma isn't processed, isn't cleared, isn't purified, isn't balanced, it shows up in different ways. And right now,
different natural events.
Yeah, different natural events. And right now we can see the world stage is this whole karmic retribution is coming to the surface, and the scales are being balanced, so to speak, because the universe is truly always in balance, but yet there's certain things that have to happen in the current of life that creates a collective shift. And obviously you're aware of this, and everyone listening to this is aware of this. And so we're doing a lot of things but mostly focusing on the earth at a whole, because when you work with the grids, when you know how to, and there's different systems, it gets a little bit technical, but there's different grid systems. And when you work on that, you have a greater effect on the collective as a supporting mechanism through this shifting of times and this shifting of cycles that we're in right now. So that's what we've been doing, just really working with the land and walking the lands and working with certain natural situations that are coming up that are purifying the lands again to really help usher in a new consciousness for humanity to attune to.
That's right. Right now, there's about 350 to 400 years of karma that is coming through, especially in the West Coast right now.
America.
Yes, the West Coast of America, exactly. And in order to ameliorate the events, in order to bring about a greater resolution, it's important to understand that the earth is never out of balance. And that would be a misnomer if anyone does believe that, because the earth is always in perfect balance.
Yeah, she's always in control.
Correct.
Gaia has got this show down packed. Now the humans, now they lose control,
and the perception of a human by which they're experiencing an event based upon something that could be seen as an earth event, such as fire or tsunami or anything of the like, that perception would create the feeling that there is an out of balance, but that in fact is related to the consciousness of the population, of the society spoken of.
Exactly.
Well, that's good to know that the earth is in perfect balance, because so many light workers feel this longing to assist. But what we're going to talk about today is really this internal compass, this internal alignment that you teach, this self-realization. And that's the importance for us. And that actually allows us to make that great collective shift along with Gaia. So thank you for that beautiful update. We are really wishing to bring forth this prosperity, this abundance that is a birthright. And so in our show today, you're going to talk about true abundance and really what that means. And so this is fascinating. It's time for all of us to really be prosperous, right? What do you see is necessary in order for this to be realized for everyone?
Beautiful question. When we look at Earth Gaia and we look at the plane of Earth itself, and we expand our vision of Earth, and we look out through the cosmos itself,
in the stratosphere,
everything is expressed in total abundance, and every being already is that. Tuning in to a state of abundance, to live in that state of abundance where you can experience prosperity. Now that's something that's is enabled when one's perception is attuned to that. But your true state of being is complete abundance, that you always, and everything in this flow of life, in this universe, is that. So that's the first and foremost importance to express, because everything really is that total abundance. When you look at a tree, it never bears just one fruit. It gives a multiple cornucopia and a banquet of many fruits through many seasons, and then those fruits have seeds that then go off and can create new trees of life, or new trees of fruits that then go and complete that cycle and continue that cycle forth. So everyone has that fruit inside them, and it's about maturing that spiritual fruit, those spiritual gifts, those spiritual treasures. And when they seed and when they bloom, they're then shared with the world in a very effortless nature. And so you have to shift your perception first and foremost. And then when you shift your perception, you may run into these certain beliefs or perceptions or learnt behaviors or social cultural conditionings or parental conditionings that are certain belief models that say otherwise, that you've adopted or you've received throughout your upbringing or throughout different lifetimes maybe. And those belief systems then give certain perceptions of the lack mentalities. And it's those belief systems that have to be excavated. They have to be brought to the surface to see them what they are, as false.
Absolutely. And the sun does not partially shine, beloved Lauren. The sun shines brightly with great radiance and life-giving at all moments. Now, from our perspective here on the earth, it might seem as though there's a cloud that eclipses the sky, that thus changes the light ability of the sun, but the sun itself is never changing. And so this potentiality of fullness is within every single holographic cell of this creation. And so how could a human being be any different from that? How could any life form be any different from that? Well, that would only be in the perception of one's own mind and their own consciousness and the seeding along the way that they have thus believed about themselves since birth and even beyond the birthing. Because as we always share, one's thought forms, one's thoughts are never really their own. They're always coming from a mother or a father or brothers or sisters or society at large or the media. But to really recognize in the stillness of absolute divinity, there are no thoughts to be had. Thus, there are no true perceptions that can create any distortions in that truth.
And that nature of the sun is the same nature as one's own journey of enlightenment. When the sun is rising and it starts shining its light, you start seeing more clearly. In day, you start seeing more clearly. You start seeing nature more clearly because the night is ending and the day is beginning.
But yet there's no real thing as night, because on the other side of the earth, wherever you are, it's always shining.
And so when the sun does perceptually rise and brings that clarity, that's also equivalent to when you see clearly beyond the mirage of one's own mind, and you can see clearly the nature of reality. And the nature of reality is always changing. And so when you start being able to not so much be affected by that change, but you flow with that change no matter what life situation, no matter what world situation, when you flow with that change and you are more in a harmonic state where you're not in friction with life, you're not in a friction state, there's no
opposition.
Yeah, there's no resistance to life. When you're in that flowing state, you're in true abundance. And that's from a spiritual mind. And from that perception of abundance, then that can matriculate and manifest into the physical world as, you know, as that prosperity in the physical financial aspect. But finances and wealth in that manner is only one aspect of the true abundance. But first you have to attune to that nature of rhythm in order for that to become a living example and living reality.
Absolutely. When we talk about prosperous magic, we're really talking about the ability to utilize these wonderful resources, the magic that the earth has, as well as the cosmic forces to positively influence anything, a situation, an event, a relationship.
And so we want to ask, you know, yourself and all the beloved listeners and your beautiful community, just take a moment. What perception would you rather believe in? Would you rather believe in a perception that the earth is completely out of balance, the universe is completely tipped on one side of the scale and is in as a complete mess,
And that you need to fix it.
and that you need to
And
fix
that
that,
you need to fix
and that
it.
you have to fix and change the way it is? Or how does it feel to tune into a reality that actually the earth's in perfect balance? She's doing exactly what she needs to do. And the humanity just needs to attune to that natural rhythm. And the universe itself at large, there's not a blade of grass, there's not a speck of dust that's misplaced in this universe. And when you perceive like that, how does that make you feel? As you see that, as you sense that, as you tune into that, what does that allow? What freedom does that give you or offer you?
Immense freedom.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the way the universe works, and for us to have total faith in that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is that not the reality that we all serve? A reality that all is in perfect balance and perfect harmony. And when we connect with Gaia and speak and receive messages from her, they're always so similar. And it always sounds something like this. It is not I that needs the help. It is you, the consciousness of humanity that lives upon the body by which it is so unconsciously spent. The energy is so unconsciously spent that creates the need for such shifts within the earth itself. She has resources beyond anything that you can even imagine. The question is, will she share those resources with those who are, on some levels, unable to revere what is already shared?
Yes. Well, then the question would be, what are so you mentioned that we have an ability to use her resources and the cosmic forces. And so what would some of those be? Would that be like the seasons or reading the energy of her? What are those resources?
Before we even talk about the resources, we first must recognize the energy by which any action takes place in order to receive the specificity of the exact frequency of the initial action. So if one starts to endeavor into, let's say, a ritualistic manner, or have an intention of something that doesn't come from the reverence and the blessing by which it would potentially be bestowed, that blessing is likely not going to occur, because the frequency by which that seed was planted is not going to be a match.
And so in order to really...
Does that make sense before we move on to the next thing?
Absolutely. It is the reverence. It is the soul. Would we say it's a soul appreciation as part of that reverence?
Yeah, we could.
Yes.
And so when one tunes into that that frequency of just complete abundance, complete harmony. And there's no worries there. Everything's in order. Everything's in divine precision. Everything's in divine alignment. When you come from that space, you're not trying to add something. You're not trying to change something
or take something.
You're not trying to take something, because that mentality of taking without replenishing, without giving, it doesn't work like that in nature. You can't just take. There's always a give back. There's always a balance. There's always a flow. And so when you marry with that natural way that energy unfolds, then you become this superconductor and attract exactly what is in harmony. You attract that into your life. Now, say for example, you want to be really practical with this, and you want to go, okay, well, I want to just do some really good work on earth, and I need certain amount of wealth to be able to do that. And I want to be able to replant, forestation. I want to, just heal oceans, and I want to work at a very expansive level with the earth to help clean and purify and do all that beautiful work. But in order to do that, there needs to be some level of wealth to do so. So we're just giving you an example. Now, if you want to set yourself on that endeavor, and that's something that resonates with your heart and soul, in order to be able to experience that reality where you can be prosperous and you can generate wealth in a conscious manner, you have to understand where your energy is. What is your energy focused on? Because maybe certain habits, certain beliefs, certain life experiences, certain desires that you have are actually blocking that ability to manifest that energy. And that energy can be sometimes trapped deeper in the unconscious. And when that energy is trapped in the unconscious and it's not in a realized state, when it's in a realized state, it's flowing. The energy is flowing. You're aware of that conditioning. You're aware of that mind belief model, and you're aware of that. And you start returning the power back to your true self, because you're not allowing that illusion to depict who you are or change your perception of your life. And so you're changing and exchanging that energy. So, but if you've got your unconscious that has all these different desires, and your pain body and desire body is focused on certain things that may be unconscious to you currently, then no matter what task you set out, your energy is going to is getting caught up in those aspects of your field and of your auric field or bioenergy field or consciousness that aren't returning back to you. So you're sending energy one way, but it's not coming back to you. And so you keep experiencing life situations. There's blocks, or there's resistant patterns, or there's behavior models that play out. And it feels like life just isn't flowing, isn't an easy ride. And that's because the energy unconsciously hasn't been released. But when you release that energy, when you excavate that energy, when you unmask that, there's a biofeedback loop that comes through you. And that energy goes through your internal biocircuitry, which is your meridian systems, your endocrinology of your chakras, and all of the energetic system of your field. And you have this superconductive power, this prosperous magnetism that is there, because you're not fighting against life. You're not fighting in relationships.
You're not fighting against the current that we started to talk about.
Exactly.
The currency. That's what money is. It's currency. It's the way in which one flows with the magic of the earth itself. And thus, one must follow the cosmic law and be in alignment with the cosmic law in order to truly be able to manifest prosperous magic.
And when you do that, you realize it's actually quite effortless.
It is.
And then,
absolutely.
and something else happens, which is even quite magical, is that these things that you thought you wanted, these objects of desire that you thought you wanted, and the things that you wanted to do, you start realizing that you don't actually you never really wanted them to begin with. You just thought you wanted them. You just thought you believed that you wanted these things.
Because having those things would define a part of you that without them has not yet been fulfilled.
And so what happens is that on the journey of self-realization, you get to a point where you realize that you're already it. There's nothing you can add to what you already are as eternity, as infinity, as pure, unbounded abundance. You can't add or take away from this complete state of divinity, of empty fullness, of complete perfection. And when you get that realization, that's when life just unfolds in a harmonic sattvic meaning pure, frictionless states. You just glide through life. It's like there's no effort that's involved. And this, we liken this to when you're, say for example, you're canoeing down a river and you're following the stream. Well, if you didn't paddle occasionally, from side to side, the canoe would steer off. It could veer off. It could hit a rock. It could go to the shore. It could veer off. It could but if you just gently paddle slowly and ever so often just paddling with that canoe, you're gracefully taken down the path. So there is a little effort involved, but that effort doesn't seem like effort. It feels more like grace.
That effort is really just presence.
And that's when you're using all the elements in harmony. You're using all the elements of life in complete balance, because they are in balance. And when you attune to that harmonic of balance, then your life becomes a result of that. And so that's that state of consciousness. When you're in that state of really in that flow, in that effortless grace, in that sattvic frictionless harmony, when you're in that tranquility and equilibrium of life, then no matter what happens to you, you receive that energy input, and then you transmute it into something even more beautiful, more harmonic. Because that's what you notice when you see the seasons of life. Every season of nature, no matter where you are in the world, and in some locations they don't have many seasons, but if you get the 4 seasons, you can see that every season is not more or less beautiful than the other season, but they're just uniquely beautiful in themselves.
And they have different characteristics.
And they transmute the energy from one season, from one cycle to the next and to the next. And it flows like this, rhythmically, harmonically, with no effort involved. Really, it's just a happening. It's just an unfolding. And so when you come from that mindset and from that heart-centered state of life, with your interactions with life, with your relationship with life, then prosperity and abundance and trying to make things happen isn't that at all what it once was seemed. It's actually just more that you're tuning into what already is, the substrata of life itself. And as you tune into that more, you become more identified with that infinite, unbounded, unlimited consciousness. And from that state, you're in harmony with all aspects of the true self and life itself.
Now, with all of that said, we know that this is easier said than done.
For some.
For so many. And because of that is why we are offering and have created the ability to infuse and inject all that we're talking about into certain elements, tools, in this case, mandalas, to be able to really give somebody who might be struggling with this concept and the implementation of this ability to flow a much, much greater opportunity to utilize the magic and the powers of the earth.
And of you, of your true self.
Of your deepest, most whole expression of yourself.
Yes, because when you attune to that divinity, you understand everything in this, and we're sure that everyone already knows this. It's very simple, that everything truly is energy, and there's energetic templates that then create manifestations of life and of experience. And so when you tune into those subtler realms and you tune into that subtle geometrics that hold that field of experience, you then become absorbed into that field of experience, and then that experience becomes your living reality.
That's good.
And
Beautifully stated.
So we share that because, you know, this idea of magic, it's only idea of magic because of thinking that it's not your natural state. But actually, each one of you are completely prosperous and magical and have unlimited amounts of energy that's inside you. Each one of you have the ability, and not only the ability, but have the exact amount of energy inside you that can recreate this entire universe. Each one of you, and it's all locked within the physical vessel. You just have to learn how to tap into that, and that is a magical experience. It's a mystical experience when you tap into that true nature of your being. You literally are made not only from that energy, but you are of that energy that is the total sum of the universe itself. And that when you realize that and you contemplate that and you allow that to seep in a little bit deeper, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. There's nothing that you can't do, because the greater version of you is already doing it all.
And with all of that, in order to be able to really utilize the wondrous playground that is available to all beings, there must first be a connection, a conscious connection with the earth, in order to truly utilize the unseen realms of consciousness.
Yes. And now the key to be able to be in a frictionless state of life and to become more prosperous, to generate more wealth, this is the one simple key that if you do this one thing, life will literally unfold in a phenomenal way. And that's to let go of your emotional investment with certain expectations of life. If you let go of your emotional investment when it comes to relationships with certain people, when it comes to expectations on yourself, when it comes to interactions with life, if you remove that one thing, which is your investment in there, that energy gets to become unbounded, unlimited. And when you take a deep look into your investments, into your expectations, into your desires, into all these things. We don't say don't experience the beauty and the bliss of life and all the cornucopia of what life has to experience. We're saying the absolute contrary. And we're sharing that you can live fully in joy, bliss, and harmony with life, but have no investment with it at all.
Mm-hmm. And that's really when the fun begins.
And when you do that, then you just have this untold amount of abundant energy running through you to manifest any true thing. But you realize that you only really want to manifest the things that are in harmony with service,
with the life-giving principle of creation.
So what you need to do is look into your investments, and also you can take this as far as to the physical level. Where are you investing your financial currency?
Your focus.
What companies are you investing in? Are you investing in beings that are supporting with natural products and things that are supporting and are pro-earth and are supporting the life of the purity of this planet? Or are you investing in organizations that don't really care so much about the well-being of this planet and the well-being of humanity at large? Where is that because that financial investment on every little thing, whether it's just something from the local market, or the farmer's market, wherever you're sending your frequency or sending your currency of energy, and money is a physicalized representation of that energy. Wherever you're sending that, wherever you're investing into that, you're also receiving that biofeedback. And so you want to, every organization on this planet has a frequency, and certain organizations have a very low frequency that don't have any intention to really even support people with the products that they're offering. So when you realize that everything is frequency, and if I'm investing into an organization that's behind this product and their frequency is very low, then I'm receiving that low distribution of my currency coming back to me. But now, if you look at it from the other side, if you're investing in things that are of a higher frequency, of a higher purity, of a higher integrity, then you're receiving that as well.
And that helps you build your light body. That helps you then take that light and bring that into physicalized representation, by which you are able to transmit also those same life-giving properties of light through conscious wealth creation.
Yes. And so if you live with a life-giving principle, which is just another word for the Christ is a life-giving principle. It's a life-giving, sustaining, energetic, and it's many more aspects of that. But that's its true life-giving sustenance.
And it is self-sustaining.
And it's self-perpetuating and self-sustaining and self-generating and regenerative. So when you focus your energy from that level of awareness, that is what you're going to attract. That is what you're going to experience. That is what you're going to be a participator with and in. So we hope this...
And a catalyst too.
Yeah, an absolute catalyst, an advocate for. So we hope and trust that this gives you a greater perspective of what we truly mean when we're speaking of words of prosperous magic and conscious wealth creation, because it's all about you and you being aware of your energy.
Yes, and really listening to both of you sharing on this, it really requires a dismissiveness of worry, a dissolving of the worry. When we are in a state of beingness, in this state of consciousness with effortless grace, there is that trusting in the universe. This is really, you've mentioned self-realization. It's really embodiment of this state. And this heart-centeredness is where miracles come from. And that's really what we're doing here, is we are attuning to the flow of the universe, which does bring miracles through the heart center.
Absolutely. And that heart center connects to the heart center of the universe, the heart center of the cosmos. And that energy is coming through right now in phenomenal waves, incredible waves and bow waves of energy that are coming in right now, that we are anticipating is going to get much stronger in the coming years. And that's why these beautiful calls that we have together, these moments of sharing, is so valuable and so important in order for people to really open their hearts and to not only be in trust, but to become as the universe.
Because that's what you truly are. And the universe is producing, again, these phenomenal bow waves of like ripples of energy that are just streaming in to the sphere of our planets, from the sun through the crystalline core of the earth, and it's producing these massive currents of energy out to the energy lines of the grids. So it's so available for you to tap into. Now, to be able to tap into that energy is one thing, and then allow that energy to flow through you to then manifest in multiple ways. There is miracles and upon miracles available to anyone that is able to attune to that cosmic current, because that cosmic current is the true currency of this golden age that we're all being a part of. We're all being a part of the co-creation of that. But at first, it has to come inside you. You have to. What would it be like to live in a way that is completely
frictionless, harmonious?
Yeah, and has this equilibrium with all aspects of life. So no matter what happens in life, no matter what the storm, no matter what the story shows, no matter what the play is showing,
no matter what other people perceive or don't perceive, feel or don't feel, what would it be like if you maintained the unmovable connection to the earth, to the universe, to the cosmos, so that you will actually want to transmit this energy, not every so often, not sometimes, not when you think about it, but always, no matter what, that thus opens the door and the gateways for this level of magic to happen, not sometimes, but all the time.
And then, what can happen from that is truly limitless. Talking about thinking and creating, just a mere thought of something manifesting, being able to be manifested into the physical realm, like all of that's still worldly. We wouldn't say that that's so spiritual, but that is very much possible.
We've seen it, we've done it, we know this. We
you
can
have the
promise
ability. Every being has the ability to literally create and manifest anything out of nothing. And you already do this, maybe not instantly or consciously, but to make something out of nothing is exactly how the universe came into form in the very beginning. And when you get good at this, you can literally manifest just with one intention. Just
think
with
apple, get apple.
But to
Sing
get
apple.
there, you have to fully trust. You can't just believe a little bit. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not. You can't just be, a little bit pregnant.
Right. You're either jumping off the cliff and you're closing your eyes and you're saying, take me and I fully surrender into the eternal abyss of magic, or
the eternal light of truth. And that's what self-realization really is all about. It's when one realizes the true self, they become this energetic rod, so to speak, this sort of column of light that when the energy currents come through into the earth, they ground that, they anchor that, and they distribute that in such harmony. And that's really what happens in the unseen ways, that supports the earth's evolution, that supports humanity's evolution. Because when one being really experiences and becomes a catalyst of the ultimate truth, that then can reverberate for others to receive that illumination, to receive that wisdom, to receive that transference of energy, to also become that. And that's really what has to happen. And in order for you to get to that stage, and in order for anyone to get to that stage, you just have to look at all the different aspects that you may still have emotional investment in. There may be some friction. There may be some aspects that you don't fully trust. You don't fully have faith in and consciously you may, but then there's certain situations in life that show to you, and then all the teachings that you've learned go out the window, and
all the tools that you've taken on,
and you completely react, and you completely allow the emotional body to take you for a ride, and then you feel depleted. And then
you can't produce from that depletion. You can't create from that, from when your reservoir has been exactly from when your reservoir is no longer available to produce for you. How can you possibly create from a space of lack, from that depression of what happens emotionally when there is a resistance in the life and the body responds, it tightens, it becomes, your heart starts to palpitate, all sorts of things start to happen in the body when there's a friction that is put in place. And so again, we remind you that you have, and it is your birthright to live a life in a frictionless state. It is in fact your choice.
As
It's all of our choices.
it's every being's birthright to become self-realized. It's absolutely your birthright, and that is the ultimate. Well, it's the actually it's the very beginning of your spiritual path. Truly, when you realize that self, that becomes the very beginning of the next level of total surrender, total trust, because it's not just a belief anymore, it's a direct experience, it's a direct revelation.
And when we talk about this ability to create this, to tap into prosperous magic and how to build conscious wealth, it's so necessary to also share, for anyone who's struggling with this, really take inventory on why you want wealth to begin with. Is it because you're trying to define yourself in a certain way? Is this going to validate some part within you that has not been yet fulfilled? How and why is the universe answering this call of wealth creation? What is your intention truly? And this is something that deserves deep excavation, because even if there's just a tiny bit where that wealth could be misused or that magic could be misused, that is where the blocks, that is where the resistance is that the universe will show you. Because remember, the universe neither gives nor takes from you. All it does is place a mirror in front of you and show you.
Through your life experiences.
Through your life experiences.
Your relationships.
Through your relationships. Through your partnerships. Through all the events that come into play, whether they're looping in patterns and you're experiencing the same thing, the same thematic lesson over and over again, masked in different faces, different people, different events. All of this is part of the utilization to really allow for yourself, the true self, to receive this prosperous gift.
And ask yourself, are you generous with what you do have?
Do you want to hold on to it like a little squirrel?
Yeah. Do you want to hold on to things?
Mm-hmm.
Are you, because if you really, if the financial currency, it's like a wheel of giving and receiving. So if you're in resistance to giving, then how can you truly receive? Because it's just one end of the same spectrum.
Are you somebody who wants things given to you for free? Do you feel entitled? Like, oh, why is this person charging for this when it should be given for free? If that's your mentality, I promise you will never be able to tap in to this incredible gift that can be yours.
And when you change that mentality, when you give freely and with no expectations of return, you've just 10x'd that return in such a powerful way.
And absolutely. And every time you come from a space of wanting to share your own wealth, to give in order to receive, just like breath, you give breath, you instantly receive it back again. You release the breath and there's an instant reception of that breath in return. And so every time you give, your vessel builds and expands more, by which you will then receive more, to then give more and expand your vessel even further. And we really want so deeply for this to be understood and change the perception, especially of the West. The beloveds in the West have this very interesting perception
mentality
sometimes.
But when you are generous and you give freely, and then also, and you are generous with everything that you share, that expands you more than you can ever imagine. And it's also, like Shekinah said, returns that instantly. Now, that may not look instant on a physical level, but energetically it is. It's just the nature of how the universe flows. It really is. And so every state of energy, whether it's physical, whether it's for example, we look at water. We look at it from ice, from just normal water for liquids, and then we look at it from vapor. That's just changing one state of the same elemental structure. And so when you look at life through that lens of you giving, that intention of giving, that energetic intention of giving, and that's being sent out, then that energy will then slowly change its state, change its frequency, and return in another way, in an unexpected way. And that's really one of the greatest secrets. That's so simple. It's so simple.
Oh, it is so simple. We're going to talk a little bit more about, how you can release the friction, and then how you truly create with that. But I want to share my own experience, because I understand what you're saying here. And we had a car, a Bella Beulah, and I'm not going to go too long in this story, but the whole belief structure around my husband's belief that you don't deserve a new car, a brand new car. Soon as you go drive off the lot, you lose X amount of dollars, right? So there was that belief in his childhood, but it ended up in a car, a beautiful car we call Bella Beulah, who actually showed us exactly what you're talking about, and the currency. And it ties into a lofty goal that I had years ago for my business. And I met that lofty goal. On the same month that I met the lofty goal, we created it equally. We had an expense where the engine in this car totaled the same amount of the overage in my business. So the excess in my business was totally taken from the cost of the car engine needing a repair. And this story goes very deep that I shall not go into. But another phase of this was bills kept piling up. It seemed like wherever you get a leg up over here, there'd be another, let's say, in my old perception, it was a leak of money. It was like, oh, I can't get ahead. Here I have this money coming in over here, but now this car needs new tires. And when I was sitting at the car tire place, it was very clear to me. I saw what you're talking about, and I saw how my resistance of letting this money go was actually harming me, when instead I suddenly saw how this expense, this bill for new tires, actually was going to the table. I saw the guy and his young family, the guy that was changing my tires. I saw him sitting at home with his family, and I realized the money that we're spending here goes out for all of us. And that was that huge lesson of flow. And so I kind of smiled, because the numbers of what came in and what went out were exactly the same. And that was the universe saying, let go. And it really is being in this flow, sharing the wealth, seeing the energetics of spending the money going towards our community, going towards our local economy. Isn't that amazing?
That is, it's so beautiful that you're able to be aware of that, and it's so true.
And it's such a powerful lesson that you were able to viscerally experience in a way that you'll never forget it, and that changed your perception.
Absolutely. Yes,
See,
absolutely. And now we just
that's
have to
why,
smile, right? Yeah, go ahead.
exactly, and that's why it's called currency, because it's always moving.
Exactly, it's the current of the sea, beloveds.
Yes.
It is the current Or selfless.
It's not about, okay, building up wealth so you can stockpile it. It's so you can
Right.
share it.
So we
Like,
can
you know,
share it.
exactly, the more you share, abundance in life and with others, and the more that just comes back. You just have to give things away.
Yeah.
That's a good space to be in when you're just giving. You know, for example, Shekinah and I, we
Awesome.
love to we sometimes make these packs for the homeless, and we make these packs and we
Beautiful.
put certain essentials in it, you know, like toothpaste and
Medicinal.
medicinal things, and just things that they would need, like essentials, and
Yes.
blankets and
True
stuff.
essentials.
And we, it was just, it's so beautiful just to go around and give these little packs out to people that aren't as fortunate to have a shelter, and they, when they get these, and we also give like blessing cards and prayer cards that have healing transmissions in it, so it can help their physical body and certain ailments as well. But when they receive these things, it's like they're a child on the day of Christmas.
They really are.
They're like, what? You've put all these things into one little package, and how thoughtful this has been to receive that. And when you are in that level of your life, and it doesn't take much to be able to go and give and go and serve and support. And when you do that, the beautiful result of that is shifted someone's life. And what better way to really be in a level of prosperity and in a level of abundance to actually share and brighten someone's life up like that. That in and of itself is true abundance and true prosperity, when you just share with no expectations of return. You're just giving for the sake of giving because it's your nature.
Yeah.
It's because it's your nature.
Sharing for the sake of sharing.
And that is what love is. Love doesn't ask to receive something back. Love just gives because it only knows to do that. It only knows that way of being, just to give and to share and to love others freely with no expectations. When you really love yourself like that and love others as a reflection of yourself, and you treat others in such a beautiful way, then life, you're always taken care of, because you are in that space where there isn't something different than that. You're in that space of life, and you're in that state of being where you're resembling the true nature of love itself.
Yes. As you were saying earlier, how trees are abundant with fruit, right? I mean, I saw that. We can look out our window and see so many oranges on that tree, for example. And if we look at ourselves as the tree and our money as the fruit, or things that we share with others, anything that we share with others, and the way that you guys have shared it with your care packages, your essential kits, the love that you are, we call those love bombs, where it's like an explosion of love within that person on the receiving end. And isn't that beautiful? That's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, these little love bombs come also with a great deal of healing for these beloveds too. So we'll sit and we'll do healings, and
we'll do
go to the
blessings.
park. And just yesterday or the day before, we went out for the first time in, I don't know, a few days. We we were sitting having just dinner, a meal, and we were outside in this beautiful park area, and this beautiful darling comes up and he just asked us for a blessing. That's all.
He asked us, are you spiritual? You feel really spiritual to me. I just feel this compelling nature just to ask for your blessing.
For your blessing,
and
please.
Of course.
And this happens.
This is why we are here.
This happens almost every. It happens every time we go out. Really, this happens all the time. And why wouldn't we give a blessing? Why? What? There's no reason, but there's also something that's important to ask, and that's, why does that person deserve or believe that they deserve a blessing? What have they done in their life that is giving? What have they done in their life that is ready to receive the blessing, because it's not about giving a blessing or not giving a blessing, or choosing whether to give or not give in this particular situation. It's about, can the beloved receive the blessing because of other actions that they've taken in their life stream and because of what they're ready to release?
But there's that beautiful universal law, is that when you ask, you shall
shall
receive. And when you
and
do,
the asking, it is given, and it is always as such.
and when you ask from your heart, not from your mind, you receive back to your heart. And that's important, because there's certain things that you think you need or you think you want, but that's not what your heart, your soul really yearns for. But when you ask for those things, that's when you really get to receive. And because your heart is the center of all abundance, not only for you in this life, but is the center of all abundance in this entire universe. And when you tap into the wisdom of your heart and you live from the nature of your heart, giving and sharing and generous and kind and
excited
compassion,
to do so.
You are then the extension of the universe itself at work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the miracle here.
So this heart-centeredness, when being in the heart, living in the heart, when we have that connection, then that is actually, would you say, the key to releasing the friction? So how would you say, if someone is identifying an area of friction, right, where it's just not happening, how do you play the heart into that to
That's a
release it?
great question. Yeah. So say, for example, with your sharing as well, beloved Lauren, is that, say, for example, you're in this situation of life and you're feeling that there's those leaks, there's those bills after bills, and you can't getting ahead. But what if you shifted that and go, well, these bills, what a blessing that I can have electricity to live. What a blessing I can have water to shower in and bathe this sacred temple. What a blessing that I get this, and you bless that out, and you send those, you pay those bills, but you bless those bills and you appreciate them. And when you change that mindset and you actually send that energy of love, you're not sending that out so it comes back. You're sending that out because that's the state of being that you're living in. However, by doing so, it does come back. But this is the key though. If you do it from a space of, oh, I'm going to just bless it and just give it out and just pay it because it's going to return back to me, and you're coming from that, what do I get from this? That's your mind. That's not really your heart. That's not really coming from a space of just appreciating what is. So when you start appreciating,
Western mentality we were talking about earlier.
So when you appreciate life of just as it is, there's no friction, because you appreciate and you accept life as it is.
And you're not expecting anything in return.
And you're not trying to change it because it's a problem. All you have to do is just flip the mentality. And when you accept life and you appreciate life, because you're creating it, and if you're not going to be happy with your own creation, who will? And your creation will continue happening the same way again and again and again until you appreciate it, because that's the whole point of creating.
And you learn
is to enjoy creation itself, to appreciate. So when you come from that space of gratitude, appreciation, acceptance for what just it is as it is, without putting a label on that's good, that's bad, oh, I can afford this, I can't afford that, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. But you come from a heart that is very much in tune with the higher wisdom of your spirit and soul. What that allows you to do is live life in a frictionless state. And that's really why we created these mandalas, is because when the mandala that we created is the perfect geometry of prosperity. When you tune into those higher unbounded realms of pure geometric perfection, that is the form holding template that then manifests that into reality. And so what we did is we attuned to that and meditated in deep somatic states of what that geometric unbounded limitless state is, and what geometry is that of prosperity. And then we artisanally create it and brought that into a manifested form. So that geometry is a living intelligence that represents prosperity. And
also protection of the finances as well.
So what that does, that prosperity, it attracts, because that frequency is something that you can, if you have a bill or something, you can like lay it on that you can place that geometry on that bill, or you can place that geometry on an offering, or you can put it into your water, and you can drink that prosperity. And once you change your perception, that prosperity isn't like a rock. It isn't something that I have to go dig for, or I have to carry around. It's so heavy. And you change your mentality that prosperity and abundance is like air. It's everywhere. It's everything. And you can just breathe it in. Every single breath you take is abundance. Every single breath you take is prosperity, is wealth.
And it's as light as air going in.
And it's always there. It's abundant beyond abundance. And when you tune into that mentality, and this is why we created this mandala, is so you have that geometric that helps you attune to that, and then you can utilize that in your waking state, in your lives, in your relationship with life. And that is the jewel that brings back the treasure.
And this came about, it's a nice story. This came about while we were having one of our beautiful community calls, and we were talking about the nature of the world, and some beloveds were, we could read their thought forms, and we could see that they were a little bit worried about, the nature of finances in the world. And so all of a sudden, we read into the field and said, okay, we're going to create something to help with all of this. And then, we went in and we shared that, and we said, okay, beloveds, we can hear you. And we know you're asking for us to create something to be protective on your bank accounts, and to bring in great prosperity by creating a magnetic field around you and your home, your office, your business, whatever the case may be. And so they laughed and they were like, yes, exactly what we were thinking, and feeling. And so, of course, in the asking, it is given, and this is what we're offering now.
Yes, let's talk about that in your special offer for our beautiful audience. This is that tool that you've created, and this is really to assist those who would love the assistance. So you've mentioned a little bit about this. Can you share a little bit more? It's a sacred geometric symbol. This literally is a container, and it's actually energizing the field and working with, oh my goodness, I'm certain that there's angelics behind it as well, and beings that hold the space.
Yes.
Can you feel it, beloved Lauren? It's super powerful.
Yes.
Yes, there's a whole entourage and heavenly hosts that's around the field that support this. And like we shared earlier, everything has a geometric, a energetic holding container.
A womb space.
And that's
womb space.
Yeah, and that holds holds the container.
Everything to me is a womb space.
Yeah.
Yes.
And inside that womb space, that's where all creation, can exist and can come into being. And so that's really what we did. Our beautiful community had asked, and so we created these mandalas that have that specific geometric template that has a higher dimensional or higher density range, because it's in a higher reality, that
it pulls
geometry
you into that reality.
Yeah, so it brings you into that reality. So when you use this, you can say, for example, you can use this as a tool, and that's all it is. It's just a tool, and you can put it in. You can put it.
It's more like a portkey.
Yeah.
It's a key to portal into the reality by which this frequency is able to
be experienced.
move your current reality to bring you into another one.
Yeah, it's like the key that sort of unlocks that door that then you can walk through and experience that reality. That's a good way to explain it. But there's so many ways and applications that you can utilize it just by meditating on it to bring it into your field. You can put your bank accounts on top of it. You can print it out and place your bank accounts on top of it, and that just creates that distribution of that prosperous field into those numerics of your account. You can utilize it with when expenses come in your life, and when those expenses come in, you can then basically have your mandala that then you place those pieces of paper or letters or bills or whatever you want to call them on top of the mandala to energize them, and then you can send that abundance to take care of those expenses, and then that returns that prosperous energy. So what it really does is changes the frequency into that prosperity. So everything that you're sending out becomes a prosperous transmission. So that's something that we created, and it's we've got
had amazing results.
Yeah, amazing heart and soul sharings from people's experience with it. And one of our beloveds shared that once she received it, she had so many new offers that came through and contracts that came through that she was almost overwhelmed with the amount of abundance that was coming into her life all of a sudden.
She didn't know what to do with it.
She didn't know what to do with it. And we're like, well, share it. That's what you meant. That's what abundance is for. Share it.
That's what we programmed this for.
So, it's for people that, just want to have that extra support in reality, where sometimes it's important to understand first the dynamics at play, which is what we've shared, and then understand how you can really send out that frequency of prosperity. And that's the same as gratitude as well. When you send that frequency of gratitude, it returns that, but it doesn't just return it to you, which is most important. When we create these mandalas, it's not just for you as an individual, it's for you.
It sends it out into the world.
And it sends it out into the world. So each one becomes like a little beacon that helps support that frequency being distributed out to all of humanity as well. So it highlights, yes, in your life, but then it also can send out for the collective as well. So that's just a little fun project that we were asked to do, and we did it, and now it's something that we can share. And that's what each one of these gifts really are. It's just an exchange of energy to amplify that energy, to then distribute that energy so it can be shared on a greater whole.
Thank you so much for that. It really is this, it's so expansive on the real currency, the flow of all of it, the sharing of all of it. And what I love is this is 222. And so for example, that in itself is a code. When we can, there's money games. If we tip this way, by using the intention of the repetitive number to actually build the wealth and the energy of everyone, to get us out of we've been so trained. There's this weird, I guess it comes from Walmart and the big box stores, where they learned, instead of $100, it's $97 or $9.97. Now, in the human mind, there really is something that responded that way, where humans respond. They think, oh, it's not $100. It's less than $100, although it's $3. But when you do something like you have with the 222 or 111, we can tip this way as well. I pay my staff this way, where it's a repetitive number, because in my intention, it frees me of the clinging to the money. Right? If you were going to say, I'm going to tip $10, and instead you tipped $11.11, you just got out of that resistance of spending an extra $1.11. So with your offer here, you offer that. And so when people purchase that, that goes into this freedom, let's say, this freedom of flowing with our money. Would you agree?
That's a beautiful, beautiful
Absolutely.
point. And with numerology and and angel numbers, the twos, the numeric
Master
is a
numbers.
master
Yeah.
builder number. So two becomes a master builder. So that's what you're exchanging. You're exchanging that building codex to receive something that will then bring that back. And we do this with all of our offerings. We always do
Everything has
specific
it.
numerics.
Mhm.
I remember
Yeah.
the other day, it was maybe a week ago or so, that we went into a little store, and there was a tip that was given, and I think it was around 11:11 or something like that. And the young man behind the counter, and he was probably 16, 17 maybe, and he was like, wow, angel numbers, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And it's like, fantastic. There's an awakening happening in this, all over the world. And these numbers, when you see them repetitively as well, that's a way that you're being communicated to at a deeper level. And when you understand the numerology of this, and the return of this, then yeah, you want to give that. You want to give these gifts and these codex, because inside those numbers holds information
Mhm.
that literally is then being broadcast
It's
out.
libraries of information within these little codes. And that's such a wonderful it's a wonderful thing to bring up. Is instead, if you're going to tip $10, do the 1111. It is the frequency of gratitude. It holds the double pillars by which to stand on and to stand within. There's so much to the 1111.
Yeah. Or whether it's 22, 22,
Or
33, 33, any master number where you repeat those numbers, each one of them, they represent something at a greater scale, and you're broadcasting that out into your live stream, and that is what returns.
And this is the
Yes.
exact pivot of mental recognition and mindfulness, heartfulness that we're speaking about. Is we lovingly, very, very lovingly, very gently say to you, release the hand that is holding so tightly. Open the fist and let it go. This is the only way that you're really going to be able to receive, create conscious wealth, and tap into the prosperous magic of this earth, this universe, and the cosmic forces, in order for you to really have a life that is frictionless, that is peaceful, that holds grace and harmony in all of your moments.
So beautiful. And we really thank you for creating this tool. The tool is in the special offer that's available on this webpage. You can just click on that and check it out. If it resonates with your heart, if it makes sense to you, it is a beautiful tool that is available for you. Highly energetic, from with actual help from the higher realms, and it will allow you to bless your money even more. Thank you both for this webinar today, this time together in our podcast, joining you on your journey, catching up with you, and for everyone joining us. Thank you too for opening your heart to this, for taking that deep look inside for those belief systems or emotional investments on what might be keeping you or blocking you energetically. Well, Sananda and Shekinah, this has been another beautiful episode. And as we say goodbye, I just want to give you both a moment to end up our episode today.
Mm.
Mm. Thank you so much, Lauren and It's been an absolute pleasure to be with every beautiful being that has joined us. And we really just send you so many blessings, that your path be illuminated with truth and with grace and ease, as you really open your heart up to receive the beautiful blessings that life has to offer in all moments. No matter what is happening on the world stage, no matter what's happening out there, know that within you there's always peace, there's always love. And when you return to that, your life will reflect that frictionless state that will bring you greater magic than you can ever dream of.
Mhm. And we thank you so much for your courage in your life, in the ways you face whatever reality is being created. And we ask you to remember our words, to bring them deeply inside of your heart. Not only the words, but the energy behind the words. The true purpose of this call is to bring every beloved into a prosperous state in their life, to remind you that you are the magic and the miracle that you seek, and that this port key and all other tools of the like are only reflections and representations to help get you there faster, with greater ease and grace. We love you. We honor you so, so deeply, and all the work that you're doing in this world with your families, with yourself, for all that you are and all that you are becoming, and for all that you truly are at the deepest levels of yourself, the true self. We honor you so much, and we thank you, beloved Lauren, for having and hosting this wonderful call together.
Yes, thank you so much, beloved Lauren, and it's so wonderful to be with you and your community. We appreciate you and all that you do also.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sananda and Shekinah. This has been a beautiful episode of Quantum Conversations, and truly it is our higher self connection. Thank you both so much, and thank you for all hearts who joined us today. Namaste.
Blessed be,
Namaste.
beloved.